Why is Liverpool watching Arda Güler? At just 19 years old, Arda Güler has already become one of the most closely monitored young talents in European football. Despite limited minutes at Real Madrid, his technical quality, football intelligence, and tactical adaptability have not gone unnoticed across the continent. According to growing Liverpool transfer news reports, scouts from Midfield are carefully tracking Arda Güler's development in Madrid, analyzing not just his performances, but his long-term suitability for a high-intensity Premier League system. This raises a crucial question for Real Madrid fans and tactical analysts alike. Why would Arne Slot identify Arda Güler as a priority profile for his Liverpool project? The answer lies beyond goals and highlights. It lies in Güler's ability to read space, resist pressure in tight zones, and operate between defensive lines at elite speed. These are traits that consistently stand out in detailed Arda Güler analysis and are increasingly reflected in internal Real Madrid player ratings, even when minutes on the pitch remain limited. This is not a story about speculation alone. It is a story about tactical fit, development pathways, and the growing tension between potential and opportunity at Real Madrid. From Fenerbahce wonderkid to a long-term Madrid project, Arda Güler arrived at Real Madrid carrying the label of a generational talent from Fenerbahce, but his first months in Spain were never designed to be immediate or explosive. Instead, they became a test of patience, physical resilience, and tactical adaptation at the highest level of football. Injuries disrupted his early momentum, while limited minutes and intense competition across Madrid's attacking and midfield lines restricted opportunities for continuity. Unlike his time in Turkey, Güler was no longer the focal point. At Real Madrid, every appearance had to justify itself within an elite, results-driven environment. Under Carlo Ancelotti, Güler's integration has been deliberate rather than rushed. Training ground development has taken priority over short-term exposure, with a clear emphasis on understanding positional discipline, defensive responsibilities, and decision-making within Madrid's fluid attacking structure. This approach has already produced visible improvements. Arda Güler now plays with greater composure under pressure, choosing moments to accelerate play rather than forcing actions. His off-ball movement has become more refined, allowing him to find space between the lines instead of drifting toward the ball. Defensively, his work rate and positional awareness have improved, aligning him more closely with Real Madrid's collective pressing and recovery phases. From a Real Madrid player ratings perspective, the pattern is consistent. Güler scores highly in technical categories such as ball control, passing quality, and spatial awareness. However, limited match rhythm continues to affect his consistency ratings, a natural consequence of irregular minutes rather than a lack of quality. Internally, the coaching staff remain confident about his ceiling. The belief is not whether Arda Güler can succeed at Real Madrid, but when his development curve will intersect with sustained first-team responsibility. This is precisely why his evolution is now attracting attention beyond Spain and increasingly appearing in Liverpool transfer news discussions. Arda Güler analysis on the pitch. To understand why Arda Güler continues to generate interest across Europe, it is necessary to move beyond surface-level highlights and focus on his tactical profile. At his core, Güler is a left-footed playmaker whose game is built on control, awareness, and precision rather than physical dominance. His first touch and close ball control allow him to operate comfortably in high-pressure zones, particularly in central and right half spaces. This technical security is one of the reasons his name consistently appears in advanced Arda Güler analysis, even when his minutes remain limited. Tactically, Güler is most effective in roles that allow freedom between lines. At Real Madrid, his natural positions include a right-sided number 10, an inverted winger cutting inside onto his stronger foot, or an advanced midfielder positioned behind the striker. In each role, his value lies in his ability to connect phases of play rather than dominate possession. One of Güler's standout strengths is his progressive passing. He consistently looks forward, seeking to break defensive lines with sharp vertical passes or perfectly weighted through balls. In tight spaces, his quick combinations and awareness of teammate movement allow him to accelerate attacks without slowing the tempo, a trait highly valued in both La Liga and Premier League systems. However, his profile is not without current limitations. Physically, Güler can still struggle in sustained duels against stronger opponents, particularly in leagues that emphasize intensity and direct play. Defensive transitions remain an area for development, especially when the pace of the match increases and recovery runs become more demanding. Most importantly, Güler needs rhythm and continuity. His performances tend to improve noticeably when he plays consecutive matches, something that has been difficult to achieve at Real Madrid. This lack of consistent minutes influences not only perception but also Real Madrid player ratings related to impact and match control. Despite these limitations, the fundamentals are elite. When viewed through a tactical lens, Arda Güler is not a raw talent in need of reinvention, but a refined technical profile waiting for the right context to fully express itself. This is precisely why his situation is now being closely examined in Liverpool transfer news and long-term squad planning discussions. Tactical fit at Liverpool. Arne Slot's interest in Arda Güler is rooted in system compatibility rather than short-term opportunity. Slot's football model prioritizes positional intelligence, vertical ball progression, and aggressive pressing from technically gifted players. Creativity alone is not enough. Every attacking midfielder must contribute to structure, tempo, and defensive transitions. From a tactical standpoint, Arda Güler aligns naturally with these demands. His comfort in half spaces allows him to receive under pressure without disrupting team shape, a critical requirement in Slot's positional framework. Rather than drifting freely, Güler understands how to operate within defined zones while still creating numerical and positional advantages. Within Liverpool's midfield structure, Güler projects as a player capable of rotating into the advanced right interior role, similar in function to Dominik Szoboszlai's position. However, while Szoboszlai offers physicality and long-range shooting, Arda Güler brings a higher level of technical finesse and creative control between the lines. This difference explains why his profile is increasingly discussed in Liverpool transfer news as a long-term tactical investment rather than an immediate replacement. Compared to Curtis Jones, Güler provides greater creative output and more consistent line-breaking intent. His passing range, vision in congested central zones, and ability to unlock compact defensive blocks point toward a higher ceiling as a pure playmaker, especially in systems that reward quick vertical connections. Crucially, Güler is press-resistant in high-intensity environments. His ability to protect the ball, turn under pressure, and release passes at the correct moment makes him well-suited for aggressive pressing systems, including those found in the Premier League. These qualities continue to reflect positively in internal Real Madrid player ratings, particularly in technical and tactical intelligence metrics. For Arne Slot, Arda Güler represents a rare blend of structure and creativity. For Real Madrid, this external interest reinforces a growing question. How long can a player with such a tailored tactical profile remain a developmental project rather than a central figure? Liverpool transfer news, reality or speculation? As Arda Güler's situation at Real Madrid continues to attract attention, the growing volume of Liverpool transfer news surrounding his name requires careful distinction between genuine monitoring and speculative reporting. From a recruitment perspective, Liverpool's interest is methodical rather than reactive. The club is closely observing three key factors. First, Güler's minutes played at Real Madrid, particularly in high-stakes matches where tactical discipline is non-negotiable. Second, his development trajectory, including physical adaptation, decision-making speed, and consistency when introduced into complex game states. Third, his potential availability, with internal assessments exploring whether a loan or permanent transfer would align with long-term squad planning. From Real Madrid's perspective, the message remains consistent. Arda Güler is still viewed as a long-term asset, not a surplus player. His technical profile, age, and ceiling continue to earn strong internal evaluations, reflected in Real Madrid player ratings that emphasize potential and intelligence over raw output. However, competition for attacking and creative roles at Madrid remains relentless. With multiple established starters and emerging talents fighting for the same spaces, sustained minutes are difficult to guarantee, regardless of individual quality. This structural reality, rather than dissatisfaction, is what fuels external interest. Several realistic scenarios are now being discussed within elite football circles. A loan move with a buy option would allow Güler to gain rhythm and continuity while preserving Madrid's leverage. Alternatively, a permanent transfer with a buyback clause would enable Real Madrid to protect their long-term interests while giving the player a clearer developmental pathway. At this stage, Liverpool's interest sits firmly in the evaluation phase. The situation is less about urgency and more about strategic timing. a dynamic that will continue to shape both Arda Güler analysis and future transfer discussions as the season progresses. Would leaving Real Madrid unlock Arda Güler's full potential? The debate surrounding Arda Güler's future is not a question of talent, but of timing and context. Remaining at Real Madrid offers an elite footballing environment unmatched in terms of competition, daily standards, and exposure to winning culture. Training alongside world-class players and operating within a system built for sustained success continues to shape Güler's tactical understanding and professionalism. However, the reality of limited opportunities cannot be ignored. Competition for creative and attacking roles at Madrid restricts consistent match involvement, which in turn affects rhythm, confidence, and long-term development. While Real Madrid player ratings continue to reflect strong technical and intellectual potential, they also highlight the impact of irregular minutes on overall influence. A move to Liverpool would represent a fundamentally different developmental pathway. Under Arne Slot, Güler would likely receive more consistent playing time within a system designed to maximize dynamic creators. Regular exposure to high-intensity matches could accelerate his physical adaptation, sharpen decision-making, and strengthen his defensive contribution during transitions. From a pure development perspective, guaranteed minutes often outweigh environment alone. The Premier League's tempo and tactical demands could push Güler's growth curve forward at a faster rate than intermittent appearances at Madrid, a dynamic frequently referenced in Liverpool transfer news discussions. This leads to the central question facing both the player and the club. At this stage of his career, is structured development more valuable than prestige? Or does patience within the Real Madrid ecosystem remain the best path toward long-term success? The answer will ultimately define the next phase of Arda Güler's evolution. Arda Güler represents the modern creative midfielder in its purest form. He is highly technical, tactically intelligent, and deeply system-dependent. His influence is shaped not only by individual talent, but by the structure, rhythm, and trust provided by his tactical environment. Under Arne Slot, Liverpool could offer a system that accelerates Güler's development through consistent minutes, defined roles, and a tactical framework designed for dynamic creators operating between the lines. From that perspective, the interest highlighted in Liverpool transfer news is logical and grounded in footballing principles rather than speculation. Yet Real Madrid's history suggests caution. The club rarely relinquishes elite talent without long-term control, especially players whose internal evaluations and Real Madrid player ratings point toward a high ceiling. For Madrid, the challenge is balancing patience with progression. For Güler, it is a decision between immediate development and long-term prestige. The next step in his career will not simply define where he plays, but how quickly he becomes the player his talent promises. Now it is your turn to decide. Should Arda Güler leave Real Madrid for Liverpool? Would he earn a starting role at Anfield under Arne Slot? Is a loan move the smartest solution for all parties involved? Like, comment, and subscribe to HalaDNA for in-depth Arda Güler analysis, the latest Liverpool transfer news, and detailed Real Madrid player ratings, all built for true Madridistas.